Hi. I guess you're kind of at the stage of gathering together all your bits and pieces for the workshop. It's going to start soon and very excited. So I've given you a materials list, but I thought it might be helpful just to run through and show you some of the things on it, because sometimes people kind of visually can't really get their head around sizes and things. So I'm going to start with your palette. Your palette is not hugely important. For you, you can use anything. A timber palette board that you can buy in any of the art shops. You can get white plastic ones that are kind of have holes, you know, like indents on them. They're not great for oil. They're really good for watercolor, but not so great for oil. So would sort of steer clear of those. If you don't want to invest and you can't get anything else, I would suggest maybe just using one of those tear off pads that you can get, and that's actually kind of useful. Because we'll be doing some exercises in mixing paint and things like that, and you can just sort of do that and throw it off. But a palette is just as good. You just clean it off afterwards. Okay, so easels are the next thing. So you're going to be sitting at a table painting, so your easel is going to need to sit on top of the table. So if you've got a box easel there, really handy. If you don't have one of those and don't have anything else, and you'd like to invest in one because you're going to be painting more, great. If not, give me a shout. I have a couple of table easels that I'm very happy to lend out to people, so just email me if you would like me to keep one for you. So the next thing is, sorry, argument going on with the cat and the dog. The next thing is brushes, and the one that I have listed for you here are the Galleria brush by Winsor & Newton. They are a lovely synthetic brush with a bright, flat, bright type of head that gives you a lovely definition when you're painting, and I'll go into that with you. If you have none of these, there's 3 sizes I have listed. This is the smallest one. Don't buy all 3. If you're I'm just kind of aware that if you haven't got a lot of kit, I don't really want you to have to break the bank. So maybe get the middle-sized one, and I'll show you some cheaper alternatives as well. But they are going to last you. If you look after them, they're going to last you. So they're kind of good. These are the cheaper alternative that I mentioned. So these are by Create, and again, they're a little bit smaller. They're perfect for using on a small canvas. This one is great for using for signing your name, your signature, and these 3 are just different sizes, and they're really inexpensive. So you can get those in Art and Hobby. You can also get them, I think you can get them in Evans, and I think you can get them in Cork Art Supply. The next thing then are palette knives. Now this fella here, I use this for practically everything, and I'll just show you again. That's the scale of it against my hand. So it doesn't have to be exactly this one, but I would suggest something like this size would be really good. And this fella here, who's not very clean, is also very handy for smaller paintings. So I would definitely recommend him. Again, if you're buying everything together, you know, you could buy one. Maybe the small one might be good for small paintings. If you're doing bigger paintings, the bigger one is better. Okay, so the next thing then is paint. So I would recommend, and I'll tell you why at the course, Winton, which is the student brand of Winsor & Newton. And the colours, I'm going to show you a little picture now. You're going to use titanium white, which is a good mixing white, cad yellow pale, or yellow chrome. Either one of those, they're pretty much the same colour. Lemon yellow, alizarin crimson, cad red, French ultramarine, cerulean blue, sap green, viridian. You can't see it on that palette, but I'll explain its use. Yellow ochre is one of my sneaky extras, and burnt umber, which is kind of like a warm black. It's a brown. And you'll notice I've not mentioned to get a black, and I'll explain while on the course. You don't need to buy black. Now, in addition to your oil paints, I have put on the list for you to get Oh yeah, and just the size of that is the 37 ml. It's not the big one. These are the ones that I use. They're 200 ml, and unless you're painting a lot with lots of texture and stuff like that, it's probably going to dry out before you get to the end of the tube. So these might be the better bet. And then this fella here, again, get the smaller one, but this is the Galleria acrylic. Any acrylic will do for this. It doesn't have to be anything in particular, because I only use this for my under drawings, and burnt umber or a dark colour, it doesn't matter what the colour is. So that's that. A couple of other little things, some of them aren't on the list and some of them are. First of all, this fella here, I should have shares in. It's called Zested, and I don't, by the way. Zested is an oil paint dilutant and brush cleaner. It's an alternative to terps. I would ask that nobody brings terps. I get vicious headaches from terps, and then you multiply that by, you know, how many of us there are in the room, and really it's not a pleasant place to be. The sort of fumes of this stuff are like very minimal. There still are some fumes, but they're very minimal, and it has a citrus smell. It's great, and it does the job, and I find it does a better job all around than the other alternatives that are out there. Now, this would last me about a year. It is expensive. It's 30 euros for a litre of the stuff. That's actually not even a litre. Oh, it is a litre. That's a litre. It's 30 euros for that. But that would really last me about a year, and I would be using it a lot. So I know Evans sell it, and they sell it in a smaller bottle, and it's $7.50 a bottle. And that would last you, you know, depending on how often you paint, it would last you forever. Cleaning your brushes, we'll do that again, but in terms of when you're painting, you know, just sort of repetitively cleaning your brush and your palette knife, I use kitchen roll. Some people use rags, but I find that the paint just gets everywhere. It gets onto my hand, it gets onto the handle, then it gets onto my clothes, and it gets onto the dog, and it's just, you know, it's a never-ending story. So I use cheap as chips, you know, bulk bought or wherever I can get them, a kitchen roll, and when I've used it, I throw it out. Which brings me to bring along a small plastic bag or paper bag as your own personal rubbish bin. Say if you happen to get up to go to the big one, which won't be very far, but it's still, you know, you're kind of in your zone. You don't want to keep getting up and down. Another little thing, and that is on your palette, you'll have your oil paints out. Now, this isn't necessary really, but it's a little tip that I do use. Because acrylic dries like plastic, if you don't use all of it, it mounds up. So that's acrylic that I use for drawing that I haven't used, which is very wasteful of me, I know. But I put it into the jam jar lid, and then when it gets all, you know, horrible, I just chuck that out and get another one. But it doesn't mean I have to change my palette, because I clean my palette, the oils don't dry as quickly, they're more forgiving. So it's a very handy little thing. And then you'll also need something to put your Zested or whatever you're using into. And I just use a small little tub, you know, one of these things that God only knows how it got into one of my cupboards, but it did, and that's become its use. Or smaller again, you need very little, and the bigger amount that you put out, the more it's going to evaporate, and the more it will stink out the room. So what else have I got to tell you about? Right, sketching paper. You'll need some sketching paper. It could be in a book, it could be just sugar paper. Sugar paper is fine. Some thin charcoal for drawing on, and if you don't want to use that, a soft pencil is also fine. And then a notepad and pen for notes if you want to do that. I will be giving you lots of resources and all the rest of it at the end, so you probably aren't going to need very much. And that, I think, is pretty much it. So if you have any questions, if you're stuck with anything, ask. Certainly Evans are great. I find them fantastic. They deliver nationwide the next day. Nicola is the guy that I deal with, and he's an absolute pet. And he will give you a discount if you not recommend me, but if you mention my name and that you're coming to the workshop, he'll give you my discount. And otherwise, if you have any problems, just email me and I'll see if I can sort you out. All right, take care. Bye.